In today's episode, podcast 15, we're going to talk about disc golf and marketing. How story building is so much more effective than storytelling. And my AI colleagues will talk about this subject. And I also will interview 4 guys from Great Britain, or they are staying there. They are from different nationalities or nations. So please join me for this special episode in English.
So, picture this. It's the summer of 2020, and a helicopter touches down on this tiny island region.
Right, nestled right between Sweden and Finland.
Exactly. And over the course of just exactly 7 hours, that chopper drops 11 complete disc golf courses directly into the woods.
Which is just a massive logistical flex, really.
It totally is. But here's the craziest part. They didn't run a single TV ad for this. They didn't buy, like, any glossy magazine spreads.
Not a single billboard.
Right. Yet this one bizarre, highly coordinated stunt managed to just completely shatter the traditional rules of destination development.
It really is an incredible story of organic leverage, because by dropping those courses, the region of Åland basically pulled in this massive wave of highly dedicated international visitors.
And it completely stabilized their local rural economy.
Oh, absolutely. And perhaps the holy grail for any travel destination, they extended their tourist season way beyond those standard summer months.
Yeah, which is huge. So, welcome to the Deep Dive, everyone. Our mission today is to crack the code on exactly how Åland pulled this off.
It's a fascinating mystery, honestly.
It really is. And to do it, we are unpacking a pretty massive stack of sources today. We've got a master's thesis from the University of Eastern Finland, some internal regional tourism strategy documents.
There's a TEDx talk in there too, right?
Yeah, but TEDx talk, plus reports from these really cutting-edge real-time data projects. Oh, and some actual transcripts of interviews with international travelers who made the pilgrimage.
Which I love because it really serves as a masterclass in behavioral economics.
Right. It's so much more than just a sports story.
Exactly. It's about looking past the obvious, those top-level numbers that blind most municipalities and discovering these highly lucrative hidden economies that are just operating entirely in the background.
Okay, let's unpack this, because to really understand the mechanics here, we have to start by looking at this bizarre paradox in the data.
The invisible tourists.
Yes. So we know Åland successfully triggered this massive economic boost. But when you actually look at the standard hotel statistics in their capital city, nobody was there. Right. These new tourists simply weren't showing up. The hotel beds were totally empty. So you have all this money flowing into the region, but from a traditional metric standpoint, it was like dealing with ghosts.
Completely invisible on paper.
So where exactly was this massive influx of people actually sleeping?
Well, they were out in the countryside. They were bypassing the city entirely.
Just totally skipping the capital.
Yeah, and understanding why they bypassed the city is really the first critical shift we need to make today, because these people, they aren't looking for city center hotels or vibrant nightlife or, generic sightseeing tours.
They don't care about the traditional tourist traps.
Not at all. They fall into this demographic that behavioral economists call special interest tourists, or SITs.
SITs.
Right. And when you analyze a special interest tourist, you realize their decision-making matrix is just fundamentally different from a regular vacationer.
How so?
Well, the destination itself, like the geography, the city, the local culture, is entirely secondary. The primary overriding factor is the infrastructure available for their highly specific hobby.
Oh, I see. So they aren't looking for, like, a mint on their pillow or a fancy concierge.
Exactly.
They want a rustic cabin. But that cabin absolutely must be located, say, 30 feet away from a world-class climbing cliff or a pristine, heavily stocked fishing inlet.
Precisely. And the demographic data in the sources is actually staggering when you look at the sheer volume of these niche groups.
The numbers are wild.
Yeah, we're looking at an estimated 20,000 sport fishers visiting Åland.
20,000.
Right. And then about 3,500 dedicated bouldering tourists. These are climbers who come specifically for Åland's solid red granite.
Because they're looking for those perfect natural cracks created by the sea winds, right?
Exactly. It's a highly specific geography. And then you have another 3,500 highly dedicated disc golfers. They are out there in the woods driving the rural economy, completely invisible to the capital's hotel ledgers.
I want to pause on this for a second because it reminds me perfectly of Finnish Lapland.
Oh, that's a really good comparison.
Right. If you think about it, people don't fly up to Lapland in the dead of winter, in sub-zero temperatures, for a generic city break.
Definitely not.
They go for a hyper-specific, highly infrastructural experience, like, I don't know, hunting the northern lights or going on a multi-day husky sledding expedition.
Right, they go for the niche.
Exactly. And just like in Lapland, capturing these special interest tourists seems to be the crucial difference in getting people to travel during that brutal off-season. And, getting them to stay for a whole week instead of just a weekend.
What's fascinating here is that your Lapland analogy is spot on regarding the structural economics of off-season travel.
Because it stabilizes everything.
Yeah. According to the strategic documents we reviewed, focusing on these specific demographics is the ultimate hedge against seasonality.
Because they just don't care what month it is.
Exactly. If you understand the psychology of a special interest tourist, you realize they are incredibly resilient to macroeconomic downturns and seasonal weather shifts.
Why is that, exactly?
Because this hobby is deeply tied to their core identity. They are significantly less price sensitive when they're funding their passion.
Ah, that makes sense.
Right, so a dedicated sport fisher or a boulderer, they don't care if it's mid-October and raining. If the fish are biting or the rock is dry enough to climb, they will show up.
They're highly motivated.
Extremely. By explicitly catering to them, Åland built this sustainable, year-round economic engine that doesn't just completely collapse the second September arrives.
Okay, but wait. Identifying an off-season hobbyist on a spreadsheet is one thing. Actually building something that physically convinces them to fly across an ocean with 20 pounds of plastic frisbees in their luggage, that is another problem entirely.
It's a huge infrastructural challenge.
Right, because how do you actually design infrastructure for someone who's already played like 100 different courses and thinks they've seen it all?
Well, this is where we really have to dig into the psychology of the enthusiast. And the sources actually give us a perfect lens for this.
Oh, the master's thesis, right.
Yes. There's this master's thesis by Otto Eskelinen from the University of Eastern Finland. He breaks down the domestic travel behavior of Finnish disc golfers.
And he uses this really interesting term.
Right. He anchors his research in a sociological concept called serious leisure.
Serious leisure. So basically treating a weekend hobby with the logistical rigor of a part-time job.
Exactly. And Eskelinen proves that these serious leisure participants do not cross an ocean to play a single symbolic flagship course.
They didn't care about one beautiful basket.
No, not at all. They're what he defines as course collectors.
Course collectors. So they are optimizing for volume and density.
Yes, precisely. They travel specifically for clusters. They want versatile, well-maintained landscapes where they can wake up, play a wooded, highly technical 18-hole course in the morning.
And then just hop in the car.
Right. Drive 10 minutes and play a wide-open, windy coastal course in the afternoon.
So Åland looked at this behavioral data and realized the architectural formula.
They needed a massive volume of courses.
Packed tightly together within a micro-local radius, offering, maximum variety and payoff for the traveler's time.
And here's where I think they made their most brilliant structural move. Because they didn't just build courses, they completely re-engineered the transaction flow of the sport.
This part blew my mind. Because if you look at the global data in the sources, something like 91% of all disc golf courses are completely free to play.
Which is great for players, terrible for local economies.
Exactly. And they're usually buried deep in municipal parks or state forests, totally disconnected from any commercial centers.
So as a player, you drive in, you throw your discs in the woods, and you drive home.
And the actual local economy captures $0 from your presence.
Exactly zero. So Åland looked at that and just completely inverted the model.
It's a fascinating pivot. Because instead of building the courses deep in the wilderness and hoping the tourists might eventually, wander into town to buy a sandwich.
They went directly to the local commerce.
Right. They approached rural restaurant owners, cafe operators, and the proprietors of bed and breakfast.
And posed a really simple question. Do you want us to build a championship-level disc golf course starting right on your front lawn?
I mean, it's exactly the ski resort model. Think about the mechanics of a ski resort. You wake up, you ski right down to the lodge at the bottom of the hill.
You buy a massively overpriced burger and a beer.
Yes. You rest, and you get back on the lift. It's a totally closed-loop economic engine. By physically placing the first tee pad right on the doorstep of existing commercial businesses, Åland removed all transaction friction.
It transformed a free walk in the woods into a comfortable, highly social holiday where the tourist's wallet is basically open the entire time.
They play around, they eat at the restaurant next to the basket, they sleep at the B&B next door, and the capital stays trapped within that micro-local community.
And by reducing that friction and clustering the infrastructure, you elevate the destination. It goes from just a place that happens to have courses into an absolute necessity for the community.
It becomes a mandatory bucket list destination.
Exactly. And we can actually see the psychological proof of this transition when we look at the international response in the sources.
Oh, yes. We have to talk about the English tourist. The sources include this really fascinating interview transcript with a group of guys that perfectly illustrates the psychological hold this place has.
That's a great example.
So you have this guy, Michael, who is an American originally from Pennsylvania, now living in the UK. And he met his core group of friends, Rich, Paul, and Mord, entirely through the local disc golf scene.
Right. And Michael only started playing back in 2022 in Ohio.
Yeah, falls in love with the community, moves to the UK. And eventually, these four guys are sitting around a campfire at a disc golf weekend in Mendips, England. And what are they discussing?
They are painstakingly planning a pilgrimage to Åland.
Right. And you really have to pay attention to the timeline there.
Because they started actively coordinating that trip 2 full years before they ever boarded a plane.
2 years, just anticipating throwing plastic in a Finnish forest.
But that's the power of the cluster strategy, you know? That level of long-term planning, coordinating international travel, navigating borders, aligning vacation time across 4 different adults just to play a specific niche sport.
It's wild.
It is, but that is the ultimate validation of Otto Eskalinen's research. It proves Åland succeeded in manufacturing a destination that serious leisure enthusiasts will literally save up for, dream about, and just structure their lives around.
Okay, but hold on. I want to push back a little here.
Yeah.
Having the infrastructure is only half the battle.
Sure.
I mean, building a ski resort model for disc golf is great, but how do you actually get guys sitting around a campfire in Mendips, England, to even know this island exists?
Right. Awareness is the real hurdle.
Especially when Åland didn't have, like, some multi-million-dollar traditional advertising budget to blast commercials across Europe.
Well, the trick is you don't try to tell them. You engineer a situation where they are forced to tell each other.
Okay, explain that.
If we look at the overarching marketing strategy here, it perfectly highlights the fundamental difference between traditional storytelling and what modern strategists call story building.
Okay, I need to challenge you on that terminology because story building sounds suspiciously like typical PR spin.
It does sound a bit buzzy, I admit.
Right. I mean, how is dropping a helicopter onto an island structurally different from a tourism board just cutting a check to a travel influencer to make a slick TikTok video? Both are just manufactured stunts to get attention, aren't they?
It's a fair question, but the mechanism of trust is completely different. Traditional storytelling, or, paying an influencer, is essentially renting a megaphone.
The brand is still the one talking.
Exactly. The brand is saying, look how great our beaches are, look how cool our courses are. And consumers, especially hyper-niche enthusiasts, are highly cynical of rented megaphones.
They can spot a sponsored post a mile away.
Right. Story building, on the other hand, is about engineering a spectacle so uniquely tailored to the subculture that the audience feels compelled to document it themselves.
You don't pay for the distribution.
Nope. You provide the raw material, and the community's own organic trust networks become the distribution channel.
I see. So because the enthusiasts themselves are the ones filming it and sharing it on their own specialized forums, it completely bypasses that cynicism filter.
Exactly. And that is why the helicopter stunt was an absolute masterstroke of story building.
They didn't buy newspaper ads.
They rented a helicopter, invited the hardcore local players, and officially inaugurated 11 different courses in just 7 hours.
Which set a world record in the process, by the way.
It did. Now, think about the behavioral response of the audience on the ground. When a helicopter physically touches down on the fairway of your new local course, what is the immediate involuntary reaction of every single person standing there?
Every single smartphone comes out of every single pocket instantly.
Right. They film the landing, they upload it to YouTube, they share it on dedicated disc golf scoring apps, in private Facebook groups, and on Reddit.
And the organic virality of that highly visual, highly specific event penetrated the exact demographic they needed to reach.
With 0 ad spend.
And the quantitative results of that organic spread are actually mind-blowing.
Yeah.
I mean, we have hard data in the sources from a survey conducted by Norstat.
The awareness metrics are crazy.
They really are. They tracked the awareness metrics, and they found that within just 18 months of that helicopter stunt in July 2020, a staggering 28% of Finland's entire population knew that Åland was a premier disc golf destination.
Just let that sink in for a second.
It's wild. More than 1 in 4 people in the entire country achieved without a single traditional marketing campaign.
And the financial translation of that awareness is exactly what sustains the region. The data shows this project generated roughly 13,400 overnight stays.
Wow.
And that injected an estimated 3.9 million euros directly into the local GDP.
That's incredible.
When you map that return on investment against the relatively low cost of renting a helicopter and pouring some concrete T-pads, the margins are phenomenal.
And the critical thing to remember is that this blueprint, this organic story building, is totally replicable across other SIT demographics.
Right, like the bouldering community we mentioned earlier.
Exactly. Climbers naturally discovered Åland's unique red granite. They recognized its world-class quality and began sharing route maps and videos across specialized climbing apps and YouTube channels.
There was no centralized, heavily funded campaign for them either.
None. It spread virally because the community inherently trusts the community.
But this brings us to a massive operational hurdle.
The data tracking.
Right. Because if this organic spread is happening quietly in the background, out in the woods and on private apps, how does the local government actually know it's working?
To ensure this wasn't just like a temporary post-pandemic fluke, Åland had to completely dismantle how they measured success, because the historical data they were relying on was actually creating a massive blind spot, wasn't it?
It was entirely blinding them to reality. The sources highlight this critical discrepancy in how destinations measure foot traffic.
The ferry stats.
Right. If you look at the traditional ferry traffic statistics for Åland, the top line number suggests that over 1 million tourists visit the region every year.
Which, 1 million people for a small island region sounds like a massive victory on paper.
It looks fantastic on a political report, but it's the ultimate vanity metric.
Because it doesn't tell the whole story.
Exactly. Because when the analysts dug deeper and looked at the actual overnights, the people who actually get off the boat, sleep in a bed, and spend multiple days patronizing local businesses, that number collapses to a maximum of about 150,000.
Wow. So hundreds of thousands of people are just passing through or maybe stopping for like 3 hours.
And the historical data was treating them with the exact same economic weight as Michael and his friends from England who are spending a full week staying at local B&Bs.
That's a huge problem because relying on those inflated ferry statistics clouds the truth of what is actually sustaining the rural economy.
Completely. If you base your zoning laws, your municipal funding, and your marketing strategy on the 1 million ferry passengers, you build infrastructure for the wrong people.
So they needed a rigorous technological mechanism to separate the signal from the noise. So what does this all mean for you listening right now? Whether you are managing a small brick-and-mortar business, running a digital marketing campaign, or trying to revitalize a struggling community project, the structural lesson from Åland is crystal clear.
It's about optimizing for the right metrics.
Exactly. If you optimize for the wrong metrics, like general foot traffic on a ferry, or hollow likes on a generic Facebook page, you completely blind yourself to your most valuable, highly engaged users.
You miss the 3,500 dedicated disc golfers.
Or the 20,000 sport fishers who are out there in the woods, absolutely ready to deploy capital if you just design the right friction-free infrastructure for them.
That is the ultimate takeaway. Vanity metrics make a strategy look good on paper, but real-time behavioral data is what actually captures capital.
Right.
By finally understanding exactly who is sleeping in their countryside, Åland could confidently justify pivoting their entire strategy to lean heavily into special interest tourism.
It really is a masterstroke in systemic thinking. So, just to recap the mechanics of how all these pieces lock together, Åland recognized that generic megaphone tourism wasn't enough to sustain a year-round economy and fight off seasonal collapse.
They needed something more resilient.
Right. So they identified the special interest tourists, the serious enthusiasts who travel regardless of weather. But they didn't just build isolated courses. They deployed the ski resort model, pushing the infrastructure directly onto the lawns of local B&Bs and restaurants to trap the economic value micro-locally.
A completely closed-loop system.
Then, instead of buying ads, they leveraged organic story building with a world record helicopter stunt, forcing the community's own trust networks to do the marketing for them.
The smartphones did the work.
Exactly. And finally, they secured that entire ecosystem by abandoning flawed vanity metrics and pivoting to real-time cellular data tracking, ensuring they never lose sight of their true economic drivers. They essentially engineered a global bucket list destination out of thin air.
And analyzing this complete system raises a really important, slightly provocative question for all of us, I think.
What's that?
Well, we've just mapped out how a single, highly specific hobby like disc golf or bouldering can sustain an entire rural economy through the dead of the off-season. It really makes you wonder what hyper-niche, deeply passionate communities exist in your own industry or your own city right now that are completely ignored by the mainstream data.
Just waiting for someone to build the perfect cluster for them.
Exactly.
That is exactly the right question to ask. The invisible tourists, the hidden economies, they are out there. You just have to look past the top-line data to find them. So keep questioning the metrics, keep looking for the hidden behavioral stories in your own work. And hey, maybe take a walk in the woods. You never know what kind of economy you might find hiding behind the trees. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you for the discussion. And now over to the real interview with some of the players who actually coming from all over the world to visit Åland Island to play disc golf for a couple of days. Standing here with some new players. One of the first I have met this season, and they are guys from England, but not really. They are coming from different countries, and I think it was the Welsh guy. What is
Welsh guy, yeah.
You can hold this.
Oh, thank you.
Then what is the background you are here in Åland Island?
I saw an article in a newspaper. I started playing disc golf about 3 years ago, and I saw an article in a newspaper about Åland. I've said that right, haven't I? Yeah. Åland, yeah, Åland. It was just like, the marketing was all about on this article about Åland and disc golf and how it's, and I just thought, where we live, there's just like nobody really knows disc golf. There are people who know disc golf, but not really. You ask general public, they have no idea about disc golf. And I just thought, do you know what? I'd really love to come here. I love nature. My background originally is in countryside management, so I love trees and I love nature. I've been to Sweden. I saw it on the map. I haven't been to this part of the world of Åland before, so yeah, it was, and it's kind of proved at the moment everything I was kind of expecting. So, yeah.
Thank you. And you are from Wales. And a short presentation of the colleagues or friends from the trip.
Hello, I'm Michael. I'm originally from America, the state of Pennsylvania. But I've been living in the United Kingdom for the last 3 years. I started playing disc golf back in 2022 when I lived in the state of Ohio in America. A friend introduced me to it, and I fell in love with it. I love the community of disc golf. That's the most important thing to me about the sport. And I met Rich, Paul, and Mort through the sport of disc golf. And Rich, Paul, and I talked about coming to Åland Islands nearly 2 years ago when we were camping for a disc golf weekend in England at Mendips. And we started talking about it, and I was like, yeah, that sounds fun. But if I'm honest, I didn't know that we would actually commit and make this happen, just because life gets crazy. And I'm so grateful we did, because this is absolutely amazing.
Thank you. And then we have the third guy.
Hi, I'm Paul. I'm the English one. I actually met all three of these people playing at Quarry Park, which is my local disc golf course in the UK, run by Derek Robbins, Disc Golf Hall of Famer. And he got me into disc golf. He gave me my first ever disc. And I've been playing since about 2019, which I think is roughly when Åland started building disc golf courses. And he was the one that first told me about Åland, and I'm really glad we've made it here. Our goal is to try and play as many courses as we can while we're here. I think we're 5 in on Åland since Monday. It's now Wednesday. So hopefully we can get another 5 in before we have to leave on Friday. Thank you.
Thank you. And then we have the Danish guy.
Hej, jeg hedder Morten. Jeg kommer fra Danmark, but I live in the UK as well as the other guys. I met Paul at a competition in England about 5 years ago. And then I met these guys at a tournament in Manchester last summer, and they were already talking about Åland, and I was like, yeah, I went there as a teenager. It was amazing. Let's go. And I'm so grateful to be here. It's incredibly beautiful.
Thank you. And maybe the organizer is you, Rich?
No, it's well.
Is it okay? Anyway, can you make a short statement what you think about the courses you have played and what your experience are? It's free for anybody to say something, but.
Yeah, so the courses we've played have all been absolutely stunning. The landscape is beautiful. The complexity of the holes is absolutely brilliant. Even the short course holes, there's some good challenges built into them all. And we played one that was fairly open over by the brewery, and we made up our own extra bits like Mandos and out of bounds to make it that little bit harder. But they've all been absolutely fantastic. I'm really glad we came. And we're going to play the hardest course on the island next. There's some really long holes. There's a 400-meter hole, which might be the longest hole I've ever played. I can't say the name of that course. Maybe you can.
I can't. Perhaps Matt, you can tell us the name of that course because we.
Mr. Kalmar.
That Festa Kalmar. That's exactly what I was thinking. Do you know, I've had a wonderful time because I mean we're only halfway through and we've still got loads to do, but we've met. I mean, to me, what I really see is I mean, the only time in England I really see is people just getting a frisbee and throwing it, occasionally family, but they never continue. Whereas I've seen like sons play with their sons play with daughters, sons play with their sons. I've seen families. I've seen groups of people play. I saw today first people who hadn't played before, and it's just wonderful to see that. And I mean, on the ferry here, we met somebody, and that guy behind the counter, who said that he used to play years ago, and I'm like, nobody says that in England, you know. And it's wonderful to be around people who know about it and actually want to play, and it's a lot of people know about it, and I wish we could have the same round by us, but you know, hopefully in time we'll get there.
As Michael again, I just want to say you guys should be really proud of yourself, all the work you've done for all these courses throughout Åland Islands. It's amazing. We're having an amazing time. The scenery is beautiful. Like Paul said, even the short courses are really well designed to be technical enough and challenging that you enjoy every bit of it. So you should be proud of yourself with all the work you've done.
So if I may, I was introduced by my son Oliver Simonsen from London Disc Golf Community, shout out, about 7 or 8 years ago. And I met so many nice people playing disc golf. It's such a great community. And it's just wonderful to see it thriving in a place like this where there's so much beautiful nature. Don't know what else to tell you. We're having a great time. Thank you so much. And thank you for today.
Thank you very much, and this is also my experience. The community is the shit, sort of, to say, because it's so easy to go around and start playing with somebody random that you can't really talk to anybody today in other situations. So thank you to meet you guys, and I hope you have good memories from this, and I will send you the link afterwards. Probably we can change the contact somewhere. Yeah. Thank you guys.
Thank you.